Hello, everybody. This is Coach Allie. Welcome to episode 174 of the Powerhouse Podcast, Tone Up to Glow Up. I'm really excited to talk more about my fitness journey to Mrs. United States, some of the tips and tricks that I used to shed the 18 pounds that I was down in just over 2 months. So excited to get into that with you guys today.
Welcome to the Powerhouse Podcast, hosted by sisters, former Miss Nebraskas and a Miss Nebraska USA, and expert coaches Allie Swanson Mancuso and Megan Swanson Rhodes. Every Tuesday, we bring you a life-changing, challenging, and activating episode to help high-achieving women win their pageants, massively transform their mindsets, and dominate all aspects of life, including elements both inside and what most consider traditionally as areas outside of pageantry. Allie and Megan coach high-achieving women in all 50 states and beyond, and live to see women conquer their dreams. If you're not already part of our Powerhouse Club, join the fastest growing group of winning pageant queens on the planet, linked in the show notes every single week. Now, let's get on to this week's episode.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is Coach Allie with the Powerhouse Podcast this week. Your topic of this podcast is Tone Up to Glow Up, which is a little catchy topic. And I'm going to talk about fitness and nutrition for the next couple of minutes here, and specifically my journey to Mrs. United States. So the national pageant that I competed for this past year when I'm recording this. And I lost 18 pounds. By the time that I was there, I was down 18 pounds from my normal weight. I was not overweight before losing those pounds, but I knew I needed to cut because this competition had swimsuit in it. And I set a goal for myself. I wanted to make top 5 at nationals, which I did. And I knew that in order to be the best version of myself, to feel 10% more confident than I already am, that I wanted to lose some weight. And I want to preface this with, it's not about the number that I lost, because I didn't set my goal for exactly 18 pounds that I wanted to lose, but I set the goal to have healthy habits and to hold myself accountable to those habits. And as a result, I lost 18 pounds. And some of you guys know this, some of you don't, but I'm 6'2". And when I was playing basketball in college, I was a lot heavier than I am in everyday life now. And I thought I was healthy. I was a fluffy healthy for basketball in college. I had to be a little bit thicker so my body could maintain and sustain all of that, all those beatings of just playing a collegiate sport. And after I got done with college and I really took a look at my lifestyle of what I could maintain and what my workout routine was, I found barre, which I used to teach. Now I'm a Smenga instructor, and fitness is really a pillar in my life. Health and fitness is. I'm not a freak. I'm not a dietitian. I don't count my macros every single day. I just have the fundamental value that it's important to drink water, go to sleep, move your body, and pay attention to your body. And I really took those fundamental truths into my journey to Mrs. United States. So I want to give you guys the actual plan of what I did in some form or fashion. So the first thing I did when preparing, and the first thing actually I want to talk about is timeline, because when I decided to do this pageant, I think it was 3 or 4 months before, but I didn't start my actual prep work until I got confirmed that I was going to be competing. And obviously, like, I got my crown and sash and all of those things, which basically was a 2-week turnaround, because I wanted my goal to be the week before I left. So I wasn't stressed out. I wasn't crash dieting. If you've heard any podcast of ours before, or us talk about health and nutrition and fitness, this is a great thing for you to do, is to set that goal the week before you leave. It really just gives you a more finite deadline and allows that last week to be a flex week. If you need to go to the gym, great. If you want to rest and just maintain, you can do that too, which is what I would recommend. And that's what I did. So I set my goals. Number 1, to make top 5 at the national pageant, which I did. 2, to be on as many Zoom calls prior to the national pageant to prepare as possible, because this is my first Mrs. Pageant. I was unfamiliar with this system. I obviously read what information there is to know online. I've watched videos, I've seen the pageant, but I've never competed in it personally. And those two things are very different. And then the third one was to be bold and ask questions, because I was a newbie and I honestly didn't care if it was a dumb question. I know that I needed the information in order to put forth a plan and have proper expectations and hold myself accountable to that. So the first thing I did was make a plan. I looked at my schedule. I planned out when I was going to have actual downtime to fit this in. That was part of my decision for even doing the pageant, which could be a whole nother podcast of sometimes we commit to things that we don't actually have time for. And that's what's stressing us out. Like that'll preach. But I looked at my schedule. I'm like, okay, Allie, how are you going to do this? You work a full-time job. You also are a fitness instructor. You're a wife. You volunteer at your church. You have these large commitments in your life. But if I wanted to do this, I had to carve out time. So I looked at my schedule. I planned out my water, my nutrition prep, so food prep. If I had to research like different recipes or how to make things, I did that. Meals, grocery store shopping time, which takes longer than you think it does, takes time out of your day, sleep, and workouts. And a fundamental principle that I held myself to that helped me lose the 18 pounds was I worked out 5 out of the 7 days a week. Now, sometimes in the 8 weeks it was 4, and sometimes I, walked outside for an hour or half an hour, and then I decided to lift at night. So that was just me kind of getting myself back on track, but I wasn't really lenient with the 5 out of 7 days. I got my butt in the gym and I moved my body. I sweat. I worked the muscles I needed to. And every single day I rotated the muscle groups that I focused on. So every time I was at the gym, I started every workout with a 15-minute walk, because by the end of my 8 weeks, it was starting to get a little cold outside and I didn't want to walk outside in the cold. And so I started those with a 15-minute walk on the treadmill, level 1 incline, and then at least a 4.0 setting on the treadmill. I honestly don't know if that's like 4 miles an hour or what, but the 4 setting. So you could easily jog at that or do like a really slow jog, but I sped walk for 15 minutes, sometimes 20. So when I got off the treadmill, I was sweating a little bit, my body was warm, and I was ready to go upstairs in my gym, the weight floor is upstairs, and lift. And I combined those 2 things together, and that really worked out well for me. I never really did any cardio. I mean, besides the spinning that I do, I'm a Spanga instructor, which is 20 minutes of spin, 20 minutes of strength, and 20 minutes of yoga. So I had that twice a week for my classes in my schedule as well. But for me, getting my butt in a gym, this is what I did. Okay. While I was on the treadmill, I would listen to podcasts, practice my interview or on-stage questions while listening to our podcast that we have that. So we have our timed mock interviews. I use those, and it's not just us putting that, into the world for you guys. I used it. I would listen to educational work calls to maximize my time. I would try and go to the gym with my husband for an accountability partner. And then I would go into the studios that we have, the empty studios, like the yoga studios and Pilates studios, whatever, and end with 15 minutes of walking practice in my actual shoes that I used for stage competition. So I brought my swim shoes, I brought my evening gown shoes, I brought my opening number shoes, and I would go through the walking pattern after I was done working out. So I was sweaty, my feet were slippery, I felt gross, and I forced myself to do it. And that was my routine. Every time I went to the gym, I'd walk for 15 minutes, I would lift weights on a different muscle group, and I would walk for the remainder 15 minutes in the yoga studio. And that's really it, guys. I was faithful to that, and I started seeing the weight fall off my body. I felt better about myself. I had better energy. I felt confident in myself because I was sticking to my routine that I knew was going to work. And I monitored my progress along the way. Daily, I would hop on a scale, or every other day I would. And I'd also monitor my bloating. And this might be like TMI for some people listening to this, but I would also monitor my bowel movements. And that's really something that you can pay attention to that can tell if you're dehydrated or not. And water is a huge part of fitness and health prep, because water, your body is, I'm not medical, but it's some high percentage of water, like 80% or something. Someone's going to fact check me when listening to this, but I'm not medical, so I don't claim that that's right. But go do a simple Google search and you'll see that your body is mostly water. So if you're not drinking water and you're only drinking pop, or if you're in a region of the United States that says soda or something sugary or just coffee, you're not fueling your body for success. But I would always check in with myself daily and say, okay, how am I doing? How do I feel? What do I need? Do I need to adapt in small ways for this day? Like maybe throwing in a little intermittent fasting. So rather than eating breakfast at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. after my workout in the morning, I would chug a protein shake or fast for a little bit, or maybe not work out in the morning and intermittent fast in the morning and then start my meals at 11 or 12. That doesn't work for everybody, but I would be willing to change things up to keep my body stimulated in new ways. And that really helped for me. And the last thing too, I did follow my food plan. So I cut out sugar. I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't count my macros. I just I did intake, whatever the verb is. I ate more protein than I was normally eating to maintain this. And I drank more water, and I tried to cut back on my calories a little bit, but I still had calories every day, or I had carbs every day, and a little bit more fats too. So good fats like avocados. And I watched what kind of oil I was putting on my food or limiting that. And just the normal healthy things that you guys should know. It wasn't anything complicated. Again, I didn't macro count. I didn't, prevent myself from eating something. I had ice cream during the 8 weeks. And it was really the consistency of doing these things and having these healthy habits that helped me lose those 18 pounds. And I felt the best I ever have felt. I walked the best I ever had. And other people noticed too. The other people who I was competing against, they gave me compliments. They're like, how do you stay so calm backstage? You're just seem like you're not in your head and everyone else is freaking out. And I'm just cool as a cucumber back here because I've prepared and I feel good. That's the mindset that you want to be in, where you're owning your confidence and you have realistic expectations for what you are getting yourself into. And that allows you to stay in that mindset and just be confident in your prep and what you've done to get to that point. So that's all I have for you guys today. It's short and sweet. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you want to know more details that I went into, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. We would love to connect with you guys. We have some great deals coming up with our Black Friday sale, and some New Year's deals as well. So thank you guys so much for listening to the Powerhouse Podcast. I'm Coach Allie. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next week. Bye. Hey guys, it's Coach Allie. Thank you so much for listening to the Powerhouse Podcast. Megan and I absolutely love our listener base, and we couldn't do what we do without you guys. If you stayed all the way till this part of the podcast, there's a couple things that I want to make sure that you know. We are constantly updating our resources to be the latest, greatest trainings and stay really up to date with trends. So if you want to figure out how to save $700 overall on pageant coaching, we have a service called the Powerhouse Club, among some other things. And to be honest, it is the best coaching in the world. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but we have the best community with amazing women from every single state in the United States in our community. And we just love pouring into you guys. So if you want to figure out how to save $700 overall, like I said, be a part of the best coaching service in the world, click the link below. We would love to assist you. See you next week, guys.